Hey, Pastor, Happy New Year. How are you doing? Not yet. Not yet, sir. Okay. Good afternoon. Notice of a public meeting of the City Commission of the City of Brownsville pursuant to Chapter 551, Title 5 of the Texas Government Code, the Texas Open Meetings Act. Notice is hereby given that the City Commission of the City of Brownsville, Texas, in accordance with Article 5, Section 12 of the Charter of said city, will convene a regular meeting on January the 3rd, 2023 at 5 p.m. in the City Commission chambers located on the second floor of the Brownsville City Hall Old Federal Building located at 1001 East Elizabeth Street, Brownsville, Texas. Members of the public who submitted a public comment form will be permitted to offer public comments as provided by the agenda and as permitted by the presiding officer during the meeting. A recording of the meeting will be made and will be available to the public in accordance with the Open Meetings Act. Mayor, it is 5:02. You may call the meeting to order.
Thank you. Call the meeting to order. Welcome, everybody.
Next item, we have invocation.
Before you all stand, let me mention that one of Brownsville's oldest citizens passed away this week, Mary Yaturia. And I had the blessing of getting to minister to her for the last 12 years or so when she was not able to go out to church, able to go to her home. And one thing I want to say about Mary is very seldom do you meet somebody who in their later years actually grows spiritually. But Mary was one of those. She continued to stay in the Word of God. She continued to look forward to what was next, even in her late 90s. She passed away at 97 on Tuesday. And one of the things I noticed as we were at that gathering on Friday, Commissioner De Los Santos was there as well, is that people that rode around town with her, when she saw something that needed to be fixed, she would say, "We need to fix that." And Bill Hudson made the comment, it's like, "Oh, okay, so I need to get some top people on that," whatever it was at the time. And she was all about what was next. She was all about what was new. And as we look at this new year, just gonna read very shortly from Isaiah 43:19. "Behold, I will do a new thing. Now it shall spring forth. Shall you not know it? I will even make a road in the wilderness and rivers in the desert." So let's look forward to this next year with that in mind. Let's all stand as we pray and remain standing afterwards for the pledge. Father God, we thank you again for your love, your grace, and your mercy. We thank you for your word. We thank you for the rules you set, the laws you set up for our own benefit, and help us to understand that and understand your love for us. Lord God, we ask for your divine wisdom as we look forward to this next year. For all of our leaders, Lord, from Washington to Austin to right here in Brownsville, we ask you to lead and guide our mayor and our city commissioners for this meeting here today. And we ask for the very best for the city of Brownsville. Bring us together around the very best ideas for your glory and for our good. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen. And now we'll have a short moment of silence where we can all add our prayers to what has already been spoken. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor. Now the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible. Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to Texas, one state under God.
Next item is public comment. We did not receive any public comment forms. Next item is presentations. BTX Fiber Brownsville broadband update.
Good afternoon. Happy New Year to you all. Thank you for inviting me to provide an update to you all. I know that we have been feverishly working since July of our signing of our agreement, and we wanted to come back to you and share with you some of the updates on what's going on now and what to be expecting in the next couple quarters. So as you can recall, about 6 months ago, we stood here in this room and commemorated a very, very important milestone for our community and also ourselves as a private company to be able to publicly private partner with the city of Brownsville on their historic Brownsville broadband project. As you can imagine, we received a ton of questions and concern, curiosity from a lot of different communities who wanted to know, how did you guys do this? How did you get to this point? And I said, well, don't just look at what today's comments are saying. You need to look back at the 2 years that the city had been actually working to build these partnerships, to have these conversations, to undertake the planning and bring all of this together in a nice, neat package that was on July 20th. So we always share the story about how Brownsville's leadership really was way ahead of the curve on this. And then we still remain steadfast with that, because as you can imagine, with now the new year, 2023, people looking at federal funding and how to get it, mechanisms to finance these projects. Some of them simply haven't started yet in some cases, right? So you guys are well ahead of the curve on what's happening, not only nationally, but here at the state level. On the August 24th, about a month after that contract signing, we convened a big kickoff meeting here at City Hall. And we had folks from our own organization, BTX Fiber, CMG, and Brownsville PUB, and obviously the city of Brownsville. And this was the opportunity that was awesome, because this is when our team had about 13 people down here meeting with all the bureaus, pertinent directors and managers of different key offices within the city. One of those being obviously the Department of Permitting and Public Works, and obviously folks with your IT and enterprise application systems, and really trying to build those relationships. I think one thing that was a great takeaway from that initial meeting was really just the fact that, we were, in a sense, through a public-private partnership, marrying organizations together. And that takes getting to know people, that takes building rapport and establishing the sense of trust of how things are going to work as we go from planning through permitting and obviously construction and implementation. It's the relationships that matter in this case. And we've just been able to collaborate very well with everybody from senior executive leadership of the city all the way down to obviously the directors and managers that we've been working with on this project. On September 27th, we signed our warehouse contract off of Highway 48, which is near the McCoy's building on Highway 48. And right now, as you can see, we have some temporary signage on there. Obviously, it's not ideal, but we're working on a lighted sign to get manufactured from one of Brownsville's signage companies. And you'll be seeing it nice and glowing at night when you're driving down Highway 48. And I'll show you here in this very next couple of pictures, I'll show you what's actually been starting to show up if you haven't driven past it. On October the 18th, we had a very important ceremonial groundbreaking. We had some inclement weather that day, and we shifted to bring this inside to the public library. But in some ways, it gave us an opportunity to do things a little bit differently. Everybody's used to kind of shovels and dirt and things like that for groundbreaking. And I think for us, it was actually a really good opportunity for us to show what this technology looks like. What does it feel like? What to be expected when you see these orange spools all around your community. And when you see those vaults, like the one that's displayed in the third picture there, when you see them in the ground, what's inside of them. And obviously we all took place in signing that vault that I understand that it's here in City Hall. So that's a pretty cool commemorative thing. Once again, we've never seen that before. This level of enthusiasm from communities. When we come in and work with communities, there's obviously a lot of celebration, but nothing to the scale of what we were looking at together there that day. It was a really cool, in a way, demonstration of what to be expected. And we followed up on October 31st by hiring Richard Hogue as the president of BTX Fiber. Richard has over 20 years of telecommunications, construction, installation, and management experience, including 6 years as a technical operations manager at Comcast in 3 states. and 2 years as a network operations director for a digital communications provider named Via in the Virgin Islands. And he most recently served as general manager for Point Broadband in Hagerstown, Maryland, and is relocating to Brownsville, Texas, and will be living here in just a few short weeks. So we're very thankful that we landed Richard as our president of the market, and we know that that type of leadership and experience of somebody with over 20 years is exactly what we needed to have as an extension of our team down here in Brownsville, and we will be building the team around Richard for his and BTX's fiber's success. On November 29th, we executed our middle mile contract with our construction contract Prime. And, for folks who maybe have not thought of the term in the last 6 months, middle mile networks are defined as the connections from the national and major regional internet backbones or local networks. That's the $19.5 million that you all committed through your ARPA fund to build. So we are obviously focusing on the connection of your community anchor institutions, building the redundancy into your network, and obviously building you a future-proof network that your city can use for decades to come. The following day, on November the 30th, we executed our last mile construction contract. And that is so that way it enables us to utilize your middle mile to reach the final destinations in Brownsville, whether that be residents, businesses, and the such. That's the $70 million investment that Lit Communities and its subsidiaries are bringing to the table to build universal access across the city of Brownsville. That's the photo I was referencing. If you drive by our warehouse now, you'll see about maybe 3 more times that amount of conduit. And we've been receiving materials on a pretty consistent basis since December the 1st. And we are expecting a couple more deliveries here in the next coming weeks. All the different components that are needed to build this massive 100-mile project that is the city's middle mile, in addition to the 500 plus miles that we're building on our own side. So it's a project of a pretty big scale, and we wanted to find a facility that provided enough space for us to grow into. My colleague, Chief Client Officer for Lit Communities, Jessica Fowler, has joined me virtually to talk a little bit about some of the workforce development efforts that she's doing. Jessica, are you able to chime in?
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much, Renee. Hello, everybody, and thank you for being here tonight. I'll be brief. I just wanted to provide you with a update on our workforce development partnership and the program that we're developing with Texas Southmost College, the Texas Workforce Commission, with help from the city of Brownsville and the Greater Brownsville Incentives Corporation. So most of my work in the market, just so you know, in case you run into me, is to be supportive to Renee as he works to be really your chief point of contact in this market to help set up a workforce development program that will provide install tech training positions to Brownsville residents and residents throughout Texas, and to also do community engagement and outreach. So just to cover the workforce development piece of this, I would be remiss if I didn't give a big shout out to Ms. Sally Perez at Cameron Workforce Solutions and Ms. Sonia Valdez at the Texas Workforce Commission for helping Renee and I to identify these partners that you're seeing on the screen here with their logos within the community, and to find the best funding opportunity that would be a good fit for BTX Fiber to apply for. And we are going to be working with Texas Southmost College to apply for the Texas Workforce Commission Skills Development Grants. So at Texas Southmost College, we have Dr. Fleischman and Dr. Kyle we're working with. Helen, Elizabeth, and Marina at the City of Brownsville have been tremendously helpful to us in just being on meetings when we need them and providing us with input in terms of who to talk to and what pieces of information and documents we're going to need as we go forward. We have representatives from the Texas Workforce Commission and Carla De La Riva at the Greater Brownsville Incentives Corporation, who's been partnering with us also. So just to boil it down, right now, I'll go over the timeline at the bottom with you all in just a second, but the Texas Southmost College has offered the use of classroom space and workshop space on campus for an install tech training program. And they will also help us with the recruitment of students for the class and to actually administer the grant itself. BTX Fiber, we will develop the curriculum, which we already have developed in-house for our own uses, but we'll be also not just developing the curriculum, but bringing in the materials and a trainer and doing the assessments to make sure that anyone who does go through this course has a satisfactorily completes the course and is able to move on and become maybe not only employed with us, but also possibly employed with another internet service provider throughout the state. So we have Greater Brownsville Incentives Corps and the City of Brownsville and the Texas Workforce Commission standing ready to provide us with letters of support for this program when we apply. So it's been a awesome partnership to have developed, and I'm really pleased with how quickly it took to develop this. Just a couple of months and we had everybody in place. At the very bottom of this slide, you can see a timeline. So just to give you all a sense of how this is going, this month, I'm working internally with my team to make sure that our Install Tech training curriculum is solidified and finalized. And we're going to be working with TSC to finalize all the details on the training program. I hope to have that done by the end of January, early February. We'd like to go ahead and submit, even though the application isn't due until, I believe it's May. We'd like to go ahead and do an early submittal in February or March for the Skills Development Fund grant. I'm anticipating, this is a very conservative estimate, but in July, September, some kind of notification of an award, and then we can really get going at that point and dig in and start to figure out when we can begin the training program itself. Here's the curriculum that we're looking at. It is a 210, 230 hour, 6-week training program. We're looking at trying to have 12 to 15 folks in this training program. By the end of this, these jobs are paying between $45,000 and $55,000. I think that's a good starting wage for someone. And it's also a great place to start in the whole telecommunications field. Once we have folks go through Install Tech training program, it really opens up other options for them if they want to go into fiber optic tech or anything else within the tech field. I think that's probably it. I could talk forever about this. I'm so excited about it. But just to close it up, I think the win for all of us here is that we have a great creation of a pipeline of Install Tech jobs for residents. As I said, this can actually build and provide training opportunities in other parts of this sector. And I think this pipeline's absolutely critical for us to keep up with the build out that we anticipate in the city of Brownsville, but also in surrounding areas and within the whole state of Texas. Broadband networks are going to be a very hot commodity and a hot item over the next 5-10 years as we move to get people connected. So we're very excited to be involved in this workforce development partnership and appreciate the help from everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. And just one last thing to kind of bookend this specific example is that the groundwork that was laid between Texas Southmost College and your partner GBIC was done even before we were involved. So going back to kind of the model from the city and the city's executive leadership who really strive to build these partnerships, because now we're able to parse that relationship out and start really leveraging those contacts and the ways that we can leverage those assets together to bring a program together in just a short amount of time. It goes back to the partnership. So
I have a couple follow-ups on that.
Yes, sir.
First one is there any program like this that the state's created before? Is there existing broadband training programs like this?
yes, sir, there definitely have been. I know that there's other providers that are working with other partners at TSTC, and I know that folks up the valley are spinning up other similar programs. The good thing is that right now there are some really good resources being led by industry leaders like the Fiber Broadband Association and things like that, where even if we're all have different types of programs, we're all kind of taking that curriculum, if you will, from the same book. And I think that's really important when we think about education and training and skills enablement, is that they can't just be skills that work in Brownsville. If we train somebody here, we hope that they stay here and we hope that they take care of this network until they're old and gray, right? But if they move on to another community and they're able to leverage this knowledge and certification and skills, we need them to be successful wherever they land, whether that be any other community, right? So it's very important that we approach this as uniform as we can. But yes, I mean, this is something too that other workforce development programs have been very successful in the past. We obviously are leveraging the hard work and the workflows and connections made to help SpaceX and what they have been able to do with their workforce development opportunities. So we feel very similar that being able to leverage best practices from other successful efforts, whether that, even if it's from New Space or any other industry, it's helpful to kind of learn from that and bring that into the approach that we're doing as well.
Then the second question I had is, if for some reason the Skills Development Fund doesn't work, although I'm confident based on the need, the partners involved, the support, et cetera, but if it doesn't work out with the Skills Development Fund, is this still something that's a go?
Yeah, I can
Is
answer.
it still something that's going to move forward?
Yes.
Okay.
Right. Yes, it will be, Mayor. And I've actually been thinking about that too. Option B is always something important to have. And I've been already doing my research and creating a checklist of private philanthropy options for us to pursue. I'm glad you asked that.
Thanks.
Yes, and one last thing I'll mention, Mayor, is that a lot of the federal funding that is coming down from DC to the state, and that can be for any kind of components that we want to think about down the road, they all require some kind of workforce development component. They really want to know how you're leveraging and utilizing local labor and being able to enable and train folks locally. That's just kind of built into the legislation of the IIJA, and that's something that's very welcome to see, to be honest with you. We need to have the comprehensive approach here of not just engineering and constructing these things, but who's taking care of them and which opportunities can be created in the community where we're doing these projects to take care of these assets for a very, very long time.
And then also, I think something you need to be looking at as a next step, and I think Renee, you and I have had this discussion before, but just to put it out there is, I think we need to start looking at two things now going forward. One is the digital literacy component of this, actually training the users, people that are going to be end users for the network. Since it's ACP, you may have some people eligible that are going to subscribe to the service that are not literate digitally. And then the second thing is just the accessibility and the availability of devices as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We hope to come back to you all as a commission with some updates on some partnerships that we're working on with some private foundations that specialize in not only bringing innovative financing to communities just like Brownsville, but they also have a device component as well too. And we're looking at making a sizable investment in devices. And I'm actually going to be visiting with Mr. Guerra with your library system tomorrow morning to talk about how we can leverage that infrastructure together and help distribute that to the community.
If I can assist Renee with any other entity, please keep me in mind.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Mayor.
And I just want to comment, Mayor, I want to commend you for your tremendous effort that you've led with this initiative, because this is going to be not only a massive win for the community, just for the fact that we're going to have access to extremely affordable broadband in every home and business here in Brownsville, but to know that you connected it to TSC and that we're building that piece of new career. And this expands the technology industry that we have here in Brownsville. But I also see the benefits, not only for the student, that every student is going to be able to have internet access at home, but I also see that this is a new opportunity for our economic development areas to start helping and strengthening the unique businesses that we have here and how we'll be able to put them online and offer their services to the world. So I'm really excited to see this happening, and I'm just really excited about this venture. And I commend you, Mayor, because this was a wonderful effort on your behalf.
I just hope whoever comes after me continues to carry on the torch on this, but I'm still going to be involved from the outside watching.
Well, it'll be hard for them to fulfill your shoes, but I know that we've built something, I think, that is much bigger than what we thought really when we set out. And we're trying to do exactly what you're describing. It's putting devices in people's hands. It's bringing the skills and the knowledge to be successful on the internet. We're trying to solve an affordability problem at the same time in the middle of an inflation and things like that. So we're dealing with a lot of different challenges here all at the same time. But you can go back to decisions that were made years ago to get on this path. And people wonder one day, well, why is this city more economically competitive than the other one? What do they have that we don't? Well, these things don't just happen overnight. You have to plant the seed. You have to build that in very, very early on. So Once again, that's, testament to you all as a governing body for really pushing this as fast as you have. Really appreciate it. I'll close with just one last slide on our next steps for the time you've afforded me today. And essentially what we would like to do is come back to you on a quarterly basis and kind of revisit these timelines and these milestones that we're anticipating. Obviously, what we can expect, we're looking at in Q1 of this year is to complete ring number 1, detailed engineering. And ring number 1 is around 25 miles roughly, which is the very first ring that we're getting out the gate for you all. We're looking at not only completing the detailed engineering, but more importantly, obtaining the permits and the permit approvals, because nothing can start construction until permits are approved, right? And that's just very important for everybody. So that's a very important item on the critical path. And once we have that permit approval, we can then issue the construction drawings to our construction vendor, so that way they're able to get those specifications and get going on the beginning of the construction of ring number 1. We know that there's 39 priority A sites connected to ring number 1, which is going to start right down here in downtown Brownsville. So it's going to be really awesome to kind of see the physical work that we've been doing for the last 6 months start to come to more something that you can see with your eyes. But we're very excited to be getting very close to that. And we're working very closely with your city permitting department and your engineering department to make sure that we're all on the same page for what requirements we need to meet for the permits. And we can move in a timely fashion. And the last thing on that Q1 is to make our critical hires for the director of operations, our logistics coordinator, our engineering manager, and our operations coordinator. Once again, we're building the team around our president, making sure that everything works out and we bring in the right talents to match the leadership there. And then in quarter number 2, we're looking at completing the detailed engineering for the remainder of your projects, rings 2 through 6. So that's where you'll find the other 75 miles that we'll be going through detailed engineering, eventually through the permit process. And I know that we anticipate having almost the entirety of the middle mile submitted for permitting at some point during Q2. And I mean, that's over 500,000 linear feet of designs. So it's something that we're working really hard to get. And not only that, your own city's departments are working feverishly to try to keep up with that pace and make sure that we move in a fashion that keeps the wheels moving. Once we get that engineering and permitting approved, then we'll issue those construction drawings and then allow those additional rings to be constructed as soon as in that respective fashion. And last but not least, from an operational perspective, we'll add the rest of our supporting members to our BTX Fiber team locally here in Brownsville, including our customer service manager, sales manager, customer service representatives, sales people, inspectors and installers, and all that other good stuff that comes with ramping up a network. But I'm available for any questions that you may have at this time. And I'm here for you guys. So thank you for allowing me the opportunity.
Thank you, Rene. Do we have any questions from the commission? All right. Rene, thanks so much for driving down and thank you for all your work on this.
Absolutely. I appreciate you all having me today. Thank you very much.
Next item is consent agenda items 1 through 14.
Do we have any motions?
Mayor, I need to pull out the approval of minutes. So a motion to approve 2 through 14.
So
Okay.
move.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Those in favor? Those opposed? Motion passes. And okay, Commissioner Los Santos, the minutes.
On the minutes for December 13th, under items for individual consideration, item number 1, the resolution on that is not clear. The way it reads right now is Commissioner moved that the incorporation of police vehicles into the master lease agreement with Enterprise Fleet Management in a not to exceed first year amount of, and it gives the amount as budgeted, be approved. Does not name the commissioner who made the motion and says the motion was seconded by Commissioner Nurith Galansky Pisania Santos and carried unanimously. So we just need to clarify who made that motion and if Commissioner Galansky seconded the motion, correct her name on that.
Okay, and so for the minutes of December 6th, you're fine with those? Okay. Also, I think I noticed on the 13th, if I'm not mistaken, it was, since you brought it up, in regards to the appointments for BCIC, I did see that one of the members, the Dominguez last name was used twice. So the second member, that's not their last name. So you just, I would ask that the minutes reflect their correct last name.
That's right. It was Jill Dominguez. The other one is showing Zoraima Dominguez,
Right.
but that's not her last name.
Okay?
I like that too.
All right, Commissioner, do you want to go ahead and then just make a motion to?
I'll make a motion to approve with the corrections.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. And just for clarity, Commissioner, your motion also included the minutes of December 6th?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Next item, we have items for individual consideration. Item number one, consideration and action to approve a 180-day extension for contract BDS 52 0717 for depository services.
Good evening, everyone, and Happy New Year. I'm Tania Lopez, the accountant three that oversees the Treasury Division. The Finance Department is currently in the process in preparing a new request for proposal for the city's bank depository services. In order to complete the request for proposal and the transition from one bank to another, there is a need to extend our current contract by 180 days. PNC Bank has agreed to extend the current contract with all the same terms and conditions as existing contract.
If we were to extend this 6 months, will you be ready sooner? If you're ready sooner, will you bring this back?
I'm sorry?
If it's ready sooner, will you bring it back?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, we have board appointments, consideration and action on resolution number 2022-085-A to appoint one board member to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Commissioner,
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Commissioners. So we're bringing back this item because we did appoint two members at the last meeting. We're just pending Commissioner Cowan's vote. So we did receive new applicants. And we're here to present those new options to the commission.
okay, Commissioner Cowan, do you have a nomination?
Sure, I'd like to move to appoint David Ramirez.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second for David Ramirez. Any discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number two. Consideration and action on resolution number 2023-001 to appoint, reappoint, and/or remove one board member of the Brownsville Public Utilities Board.
Is Commissioner Cardenas online? Okay, so we're not going to have 7 anyway, but I'll make the speech in the motion just in the interest of getting this on the record, and it may die for lack of a second. But this is brought about in the interest of the fact that we've got the audit that PUB, the Tenasca project has been, or the PUB has received on the Tenasca project. There was action taken to place the CEO on 60 days administrative leave. The 60 days has come and gone, and there has been no word, and there has been no action. And whether it's to the citizens of Brownsville, who PUB has an obligation to, or to the city and the city commission as the representatives of the people that PUB has an obligation to, there's been no word as to what's going on. That's unacceptable, and that's inexcusable. That we were headed into the holidays was a known factor when the 60-day administrative leave was set. There should have been something. That is a failure on the part of the administration to take some type of action or put out some type of statement on what was to come or what was to be expected. And as such, I think we have an obligation as a city commission to send the message that you cannot continue to operate without accountability, or at least answering to the people and the representatives of the people being the city commission. That being the case, I move for the removal of Sandra Science as she was the chair when action should have been taken. This is in no way a reflection on Sandra. I don't think her conflicts of interest came into play because I've never seen her act in a way when she shouldn't have acted because of conflict of interest. But this is a failure to act on her part as chair of the PUB board during her term.
Okay, we have a motion.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second by Commissioner De Los Santos to remove Sandra Sines from the PUB Board. This is a vote, I believe, council, that requires a roll call vote. Therefore, every member will have
Correct.
to vote on the record, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, all right. Commissioner Los Santos?
If there's any other discussion,
Oh,
just to give the board members the opportunity.
yeah, you're right. Is there any discussion on this?
I would ask, okay, so Mayor, you're the one who sits on both boards. Have you ever seen Sandra Sines engage in any unlawful or unethical conduct that would merit her removal?
From my experience with Sandra, I have not seen any of that type of conduct.
Okay. And then Commissioner De Los Santos, when you say that there was never been any transparency, while I understand that maybe there was no public comment, have you ever though gone to the meetings or asked for yourself, board members, PUB staff, where they did not answer your questions?
Well, they did not answer my questions,
Yes.
no.
Or were
But,
there?
but as I said, the motion was about a failure to act, not because of anything unethical, not because of anything illegal.
Okay, so you're on that special committee that was appointed to figure out how to return the money to the citizens. Have you had a meeting yet?
The meeting has not happened yet.
And, but you have the right to call a meeting if you go to get together with someone else, correct?
Correct.
Have you done that?
Yes, I have.
And what happened?
The city attorney's coordinating the meeting with PUB
So when did you make that request?
today.
Oh, you're waiting until now then to make that request? You've had the
Yes.
2 months.
Number one, you're getting off the topic,
Well,
Commissioner. If you want to
Commissioner-
defend
Point of
someone,
order.
Hold on, Commissioner Los Santos. Commissioner Galansky, if you can refrain from the cross-examination, I don't want to get into that habit on the commission.
Well,
But I
I'm
think your
just saying
point's well
that-
taken. I
sorry,
understand your point.
okay. Thanks.
Point of order.
Where I do believe that it is in the best interest of PUB to make comments and be transparent about stuff, I also believe that we as city commissioners have a responsibility to make PUB act. And if we have to give them the opportunity to do their job. So for example, with what action they're going to take with the former CEO, then we need to give them an opportunity to first do their job, take action. And as I understand it, they received the information, or they received a response from Mr. Buziak after they had their monthly meeting for December. People were polled to see if they were available because of the holiday, some were not. And so, as I understand it, they have a meeting tomorrow. It's a special meeting. So I don't know why then Sandra Sines is being singled out, and for that reason, I will vote nay.
Just for clarity, Commissioner Galansky, if there was a poll on available dates, I wasn't asked on anything like that. So I'm not aware of there being a poll. There may have been. If there was, I wasn't included in it, but I'm not aware of any poll. Is there any additional discussion on this? I do have some comment to make on this, and I think Commissioner Cardenas being absent today, even if it was 6-0 in favor of Commissioner De Los Santos's vote, or I'm sorry, motion, the fact that Commissioner Cardenas is absent, based on the way that the charter reads and the way that it requires for any member to be removed, it would fail because it requires a unanimous vote of the commission. So
That's
I think that exposes a flaw which we've asked our charter review committee to look at. And ultimately, I think as a commission, we'll decide exactly how that goes on the ballot. But I think, I mean, for me, the current charter, the way it reads is not working. And today is a prime example of that. Even if you have one commissioner absent, the vote fails. So do we have any additional discussion on this?
just the last comment. We do have an obligation to give PUB the opportunity to act, and we've given them that time. They have not acted. That's what's driving this motion.
Any additional discussion?
Yeah,
All right.
I'd like to add, just, I do agree with Commissioner De Los Santos in the fact that PUB should have provided a response to the commission on, where they stand on the audit and where they stand on potentially refunding the money, the $29 million. I know they have taken, action on starting the process to do so, but the fact that we're not informed formally, I think is an issue. I think, the public deserves to know what's going on, and after the 6 days being up, there should be a response to the commission as well, at least providing an update. So there is a communication issue. Is it an issue with Sandra? I don't know. But I think it's an organizational issue. I think it's, it definitely starts from the top, but, it's something that we need to fix as the commission.
And I do agree with Commissioner Los Santos as well, that the 60-day period expired without any sort of action by the PUB board until the meeting set for tomorrow, which I believe is too long. There should have been one action one way or another. The board should have convened one way or another, either to extend the leave or to take some sort of formal action. That didn't occur. Not even a meeting was called, which I think is not a good thing, certainly. And I did voice my opinion in that regard to PUB as well. But any additional discussion?
I had a comment.
Sure.
So my comment is that I'm not a PUB board member. I'm a city commission member. I'm not aware, nor do I think anybody up here, except maybe you, Mayor, are aware of the technicalities involved deep within PUB in terms of their bond ratings and their inner workings and how they do what they do. So I'm not going to presume that they've had enough time to consider all the options because I don't know that. Do I think it should be timely? Yes. Do I think the communication should be improved? As Commissioner Cowan said, yes. But I do think that taking action before the board has been able to issue a response is not good and implies a concern about a person's integrity. And I have never, in my experience, found Sandra to be anything other than the ultimate an example of integrity. So I will vote no.
The comment that I want to make is that this is a very good scenario that exposes to the public the ways that the charter has limited the city commission. And I hope you're able to see that it is not the public versus the city commission. This is the one event that we were all on the same page, where individually you had your money taken. Individually, we had our money taken and did not receive something for it. So here we are trying to correct the action, and the charter has tied our hands. We have sent letters, we have sent correspondence, we have not received answers within a timely manner. And here we are trying to ask for justification, trying to show the public that we are ready to solve this, but the charter has limited us. So I personally have nothing against Sandra Sines, but I believe that when you take on the role of being the chair, just because you're not elected, you are still representing every single customer of the board that you serve. And because of that, you owe your time and dedication, even though you're not being paid for it, to looking after those people. And I feel like that was not done, and we should have received answers earlier because this is a very serious matter. And because of that, I will be voting to remove her. I know that it cannot be done because of the way the charter is structured. And I'm going to ask every single citizen to fight for the right to have that on the next election. There is no reason that we should be going through this and having to have a unanimous vote to get what is rightfully ours back. Thank you.
May I say something else? So PUB has taken actions. They've hired an external auditor, right, to audit or
We actually looked at, we approved the negotiation with an external auditor, but it wasn't approved because of the cost and the time.
well, no, but to audit the numbers, right? To quantify exactly how much money is to be reimbursed.
That I'm not sure. Commissioner. I'm not aware of that because I didn't stay through the entire session last meeting, so it's possible that that was approved when I was
Okay.
done.
So, but in your understanding, has PUB taken measures to start the process of reimbursing?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's been in the process for a couple months, but no decision's been made formally, which, I think should have been done already, but yeah, nothing's been done officially yet.
But they are taking measures. Has the city done anything, though, in their efforts to figure out how much they're going to return from the cash transfer to PUB, from PUB to the city?
I'm not aware of anything.
The city took efforts by paying for an audit to see what happened and why nothing came.
But there was a special committee that was formed to then figure out how the city's going to reimburse.
Yeah, the issue with that, Commissioner, has just been getting everybody together since there's 5 members, the timing of it, and then during the holiday also that prolonged it, so that hasn't happened yet. But hopefully we can find some resolution to that soon.
Thank you, Mayor.
So just though for the record, the city hasn't done anything, but at least PUB has started doing something, correct? Is that,
Based on your question, yeah. You're
okay,
correct.
thank you.
Okay, I know Commissioner Galansky already stated nay. Commissioner
I'm in favor of. removal.
Tetro, yay.
Nay.
Nay. I'm actually abstaining because Sandra is the representative for my landlord, which again exposes another flaw in the system where somebody abstains, it's dead too. But I have to abstain on that.
Nay.
Okay, so motion fails. Thank you.
And I'll
Nick.
move.
I'm sorry.
To executive session.
It is now 5:47.
Second.
A motion and a second. Those in favor?
Aye.
All right, we'll recess to executive session.
For the record, the following items will be considered for during executive session. Closed session pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.074, personnel matters to deliberate the appointment, employment, or duties of a public officer or employee pertaining to the city manager, including city manager candidate interviews. Item number 2, closed session pursuant to Texas Government Code Sections 551.071, consultation with attorney, and 551.074, personnel matters related to the appointment or employment of a city manager and the execution of a city manager contract pursuant to the city charter.